I think we're live. Good evening. Welcome. Oh, I gotta mute the. All right. Welcome. We're live tonight on this Thursday evening. This week went kind of fast, or is going fast, I should say. It is Thursday, August 10th, 2023. It is 9:44 p.m. Central Time. Beautiful Minnesota. I think it was in the 70s today. Perfect weather. Beautiful. I saw little baby kittens out. The barn cats are out in my whole barn. Some wild cats. Brought them out some food. And anyway, that was kind of fun. Got them on video just as the phone, as three of them, my phone died. Anyway, I'll put up that clip. I'm going to get them again tomorrow when I feed them. This time I'll be more ready because I'll be more prepared because I didn't expect to see him and do all that. Anyway, so yeah, so as you can see by the title tonight, another Canaanite god, MOT, M-O-T, god of death. Anyways, that's what we're going to do tonight. Go over that Canaanite god. Tomorrow night is Friday. It's just an open chat. Basically, Saturday too, maybe a short study. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we're going to finish the Canaanite gods. There's going to be, well, we have El, we have Yahweh, and two more that are a surprise. And, oh, wait, is there one? Anyway, one of the nights, let's see, 1, 2, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah. And then one of the nights is we're going to do an overview of these Canaanite gods. So that's going to be probably the finale next Thursday. And anyway, it's always marching forward. So that's going to wrap up the Canaanite God series next week. Yeah. Anyway, so I hope you all had a wonderful day. I did. Just doing stuff around the house, trying to get some stuff in the yard done. Getting ready for the winter already. I hate to even say that, but I'm this year I'm going to be ready for the snowplow. I got to move some stuff so he can. I got to cut some trees. I got a lot of work to do. So, and move out of space so he can plow more. Past the building really far. So, anyway. And I also have to move some tires, which is another part of my back area. The last people here left a bunch of tires. Yeah, I lived here like 60 or 70 years, I don't know. In a different house on this property. And he left kind of a lot of tires. A lot. I'd say a couple hundred. Big tractor tires, all kinds of stuff. So I'm trying to get that picked up. Yeah. Anyway, so beautiful weather for working outside, getting a lot done. I always like to be nice and ready for when this is cold. Let's see, we're in August, September, October. Hopefully we got 3 months at least. You just never know in Minnesota. Anyway, I'm having fun working outside. I hate being trapped inside. Anyway, and of course, we get a lot of stuff coming in the garden. So I've been canning and doing all that fun stuff. Cupboard full of pickles already. Lots. I'll be giving some away to my friends and family. Anyway, so that is a plan for tonight. Yes, it is Thursday night, right? Yeah. Yeah, so tomorrow will be an open chat. Friday's always an open chat. And if somebody asks nicely, I'll put up a link. Actually, you can even ask me, and I'll still put up a link. But I will put up a link tomorrow if anybody wants to come in and chat. Just say so, and I'll put the link up, and you can come in and say what you want to say and all that good stuff. So, open chat, maybe, you know, I like to do. I really liked it. We used to have Bible trivia. For a few years, we had Bible trivia on Friday night, and anyway, I do like Bible Jeopardy. My Bible trivia book is so. It's got 4,000 questions, and we got them all memorized. We've done it, and my book is falling apart, completely falling apart. Anyway, I got it on a job years ago, and we used it well. So, but I really like the new Bible Jeopardy that we have, so we might be doing that tomorrow. I don't know. That's always fun. I like Bible Jeopardy. I like that. Anyway, so that's the plan, Stan. That's what we're going to do tonight and tomorrow. Saturday, just face that bridge when we get there. I haven't did it, in other words. In other words, I haven't even thought of Saturday yet. Anyway, but yeah, I got a lot going on. Fun stuff outside, doing summer stuff. And that's the plan. I don't know what happened in the world, really haven't been on the computer much. It's kind of doing stuff. Doing life. Anyway. So, I did hear Dale Gribble died. The cartoon character. But the guy in real life. He was the conspiracy theory guy on Now. The one who always gave his name as Rusty Shackelford because he didn't want to give it a name. It's a very they made him out to be paranoid conspiracy theorist. Anyway, rest in peace to that guy. Forgot what his name was. Anyway, rest in peace. And yeah, I don't know. I really don't know what happened in the world. Anyway, and kind of don't care. I'm not much of a news person, so unless somebody does a video on something. I saw somebody do a video on a actually I saw a couple people, like, I don't know what they're talking about, some fight. So there's a big fight somewhere, and that fight, and people are breaking it down. I'm not really sure what that's about. Doesn't sound interesting to me, but anyway. Otherwise, I don't think anything big happened. Here's a big thing that happened. I had little kittens. Caleb's been always hanging out with the little kittens, trying to get them, and they keep running it under my barn. Well, today I set up a camera and put food out, some soft food with some tuna. And anyway, they came out, and they're so cute. So anyway, that was my big news for today. I saw the barn kitten, wild kittens coming out. And I got some stuff done. Some logs and, I don't know, all that heavy work. So anyway. Alright. So, anyway, I guess without further ado, we will start on the Canaanite god MOT, the god of death. You know, it's kind of funny. I'll show you the actually, I'll show you this picture here. This is a picture of because his god Mot, he's the god of death. And let's see if I can turn this thing on. No, yeah, no, doesn't want to go on. It wants to, but it's getting all crazy. Oh, I tried again. Yeah, it just kind of doesn't work good. I don't know. I think because it's in the holder. I'm not sure. Anyway, so Mot is the god of death, the Canaanite god of death. They believe that this Mot, the god of death, was always hungry and devouring souls, people. It had to devour people and their souls, so it was continuously hungry, so it was continuously eating them. That's why eventually everybody gets eaten by this thing. One day is your day, this thing's going to eat you. And eventually it eats everybody. They figured that's why that's why people eventually died, because this thing would get you sooner or later. You know what's kind of funny is the counterpart, Western counterpart for the god of death is the Grim Reaper, which I'm going to show you. They have, yeah, okay, so here is the statue of Mot. It's a Semitic god, New World Encyclopedia. It's got this picture of it. Anyway, if you notice, it looks like it's got like a hat, a cap, a dunce cap or something. Hey Grace, how you doing tonight? Just showing that this god of death, Canaanite god of death. Greetings to you too. And guess what the Western counterpart is? The Grim Reaper. Dun dun dun. And most people know that you've been on my channel for a while. I have 2 Grim Reaper stories very close to me. Very close. One, Dave, my Dave, when he died, when he passed away, he was on hospice and we had him, so he passed away at home and in our room. And anyway, like a day before he died, well, he was kind of he was unconscious for like the last week because he had cancer, and he was dying. And we had the hospice nurses coming over, and one lady came. She's like 90 years old. She had done hospice for like 70 years. And it's funny because Dave had this tattoo on his. Dave had a Grim Reaper tattoo on his shoulder. This is a tattoo that Dave had on his shoulder. He had a few tattoos, but this was one of them. It's on his shoulder. The Grim Reaper. Anyway, so day before he died, well, he was unconscious for a few days before he died. Like the last few days, like Monday he was talking. By Friday he died on Friday. So anyway, so the last few days he didn't talk. But one day like the day before he died, he like woke up and opened his eyes like he was awake, and he pointed up to the corner in the bedroom, the corner, way up in the ceiling in the corner, and he said, "The Grim Reaper." And then he kind of passed back up, and I asked the hospice nurse, "Is he hallucinating?" And she said, "Nope, he just saw the Grim Reaper." And she said, "I've done this 70 years, and yeah, that's the Grim Reaper he saw." But Dave laughed, and he wasn't scared or anything. Anyway, and then he died the next day, I think it was the next day. But that hospice nurse said a lot of people see the Grim Reaper before they die. And then that was in 2009. And then in 2014, my mom died. And a couple days before she died, I think she was with my sister, I think, and my dad, of course. And she said that she was sitting at the kitchen table. My mom was sitting at the kitchen table and said, "The Grim Reaper is in the living room," because she had a straight shot at those looking in the living room. She said, "Grim Reaper's in the living room." with his finger going like this, like come here, like this, like come here with his finger, and I don't think my dad and my sister believed her, but yeah, she died like the next day or something, a couple days later. But my sister asked her, "What do you think it means?" And my mom said, "I don't think it's good." Anyway, um, yeah, actually, I know my dad said he didn't really believe her because I told my dad about the Grim Reaper story with Dave, and anyway, so this thing does show up. I mean, that's my mom and Dave, my spouse. So my mom was in a home hospice nurse. She had many of these same stories, really. So this thing shows up. I'm telling you. Um, but so in but these are all cultures have this thing. In the Canaanites, it was this thing. Um, some people have like had that like the devil or that the horns. Like depends where you're from. Oh, and then here was Sea of Souls. Like this thing is always hungry for souls, so eventually it gets everybody. And some are young and some are old, but he'll get you sooner or later. But yeah, so you've heard it. So it's not like I don't know. It's definitely something. I don't know. It's funny because okay, so the Grim Reaper's got the hood, right? Where is he? There he is. The Grim Reaper's got the hood, right? The hood or whatever, the hood, and their thing here, the Canaanite thing has that almost look like a stocking cap or something like that. See, like they all have that like hood, the thing on their head, a hood. You know, this has a hood on its head. Anyway, so we'll get into that. So, yep. So in the Canaanites, it was the god was Mot, M-O-T, the god of death. Crazy, huh? So yeah, it's something. And both my mom and Dave were sick. I mean, my mom could still walk around. She was like supposed to be on oxygen and stuff, but she could still walk around. Whatever. She had COPD pretty bad. Anyway, and Dave was really sick. So and so I don't know if anybody ever like saw the Grim Reaper when they were like perfectly healthy, young and healthy. You know what I mean? Well, Dave was young. He was like 42, or just turned ahead 43rd birthday. But anyway, but is anybody like walking around healthy, like, and they see it? I don't know. Mott has a Phrygian cap like Santa, and like the Smurfs, the Grim Reaper has a hood. Oh, you're right. You're right. It is like the Smurfs and the gnomes. Grace, gnomes also have that. It's like a dunce cap. Like a dunce cap, right? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. Yeah, the Grim Reaper does have a hood, but yeah. Mott has a Phrygian cap like Santa. Yeah, and the Smurfs and the gnomes. Mm-hmm. And dunce cap. Yeah. What the heck is that? What is a Phrygian cap? What's the secret behind that? All right. Uh, so we're gonna go over Mott. And the Coneheads from Saturday Night Live. Remember Connie Conehead? They had a few Coneheads. The family. Actually, there's some flat Earth stuff in that. To the moon. Ha ha ha. whatever. Yeah, there's some all kinds of weird stuff in that movie. Didn't really notice at the time. Yeah, the Coen heads, remember that? They had their own movie. I remember my kids we got that movie. Anyway, uh all right, so yeah. Remember Chris Farley was and he was gonna date one of the girls or the girl, whatever. They played ring toss. And that is kind of interesting too, the ring toss, which is the wreath and the phalanx, don't we? Anyway. So Mot is a West Semitic death, god of death. Um, you know what I'd like to do is find a map because each one of these guys tells what part of the area they were from. You want to say country or whatever, but what part of the area they were from. We had that map actually less than a week ago. I should get that back because yeah, each one of these kind of well, it was that area. It's the whole area. If you remember that map we showed, these were all these gods are from. So Mot is a West Semitic death, in quotations, ancient West Semitic god of the dead and of all the powers that oppose life and fertility. He was the favorite son of the god El. So this very important, well, I'm sure it's kind of like every culture's got like a, um, a god of death. Like India has one, um, like every culture has one, and yeah, so the Grim Reaper is not really like a god, but it's a soul reaper. That's what it is. It's a soul reaper. Well, that's why it's called the Grim Reaper, but it's a soul reap soul, and just like this thing, it's reap souls, and so does the Indian god or whatever. But this is the West Semitic god of the dead and of all the powers that oppose life and fertility. So this thing, this god Mot, it was like it's the opposite of some of the gods who like Baal. In fact, I'll say this here. Um, so like a lot of the gods are like you pray to them for fertility, for life, like life of a child, life of your livestock, life of your plants and your vegetables, or whatever. You're praying for life. Well, this thing is the opposite. It's the enemy of all those gods because this thing brings death, brings death to. So it's the opposite of life and fertility. And he was a favorite son of the god El, which is very interesting. Death, the El, El, the god El, El. His favorite son was this Mot, the god of death, and the most prominent enemy of the god Baal. And because God was a god of springs, sky, and fertility, Mot was the god of sterility and the master of all barren places. So Mot was the god of like sterility, like so animals can't give birth, humans can't give birth, plants don't grow, and the master of all barren places, which is deserts where nothing can grow. Or barren places where it's just rock or where nothing grows. Um, so it's like the opposite of a bunch of the other gods. So let me pull this up. Um, all right. All right. Looking for my right tab here. Just had it a second ago. I got a lot of tabs open. All right. God Mot, god of the underworld. So, Mot, the god of death and the underworld. God of death is God in the religion of ancient Canaan. So, death itself, is they saw it as a god. Like, I don't think most people in the Western world over here believe that death itself is a god, but they did. The name of the god of death was Mot, known as Mavet in Hebrew. The story of the god of the underworld was unearthed along with clay tablets from Ras Shamra, formerly known as Ugarit in Syria. These tablets were inscribed with poems now called the Baal cycle. Get to know Mot, death god of the Canaanite mythology. Rah. This is a portrayal of the devil in the movie Spawn. It's quite close to the image of the Canaanite god of death. The movie Spawn, 1997. It's close to their. Yeah, so the thing just devours souls. So the birth of death. Uh, Mot, the god of death, was a favorite son of the supreme god El. Yes, the death god was among the Elohim, the children of God, many of whom intermarried with human beings and bore the Nephilim. In Genesis 6, Mavet was a favorite son of El, that the god of the dead was often called God's beloved son, whose darling and hero. God's darling and hero. Does death have a mother? All right. Hoping my fan ain't too hot or too loud behind me. I think it got over 75 today. It was so nice. All right. Mot, the Canaanite god. Oops. Get the right one. Oh, I had it. All right. Mot, god of death. Huh. I was reading this little inscription here. It says, Mot was the ancient Canaanite god of death and the underworld. He shared similarities with the devil, is thought to be present in the Bible, and may have been the inspiration for the Grim Reaper. That's what we just went over. Mot, god of death. Death doesn't mean the end. By the way, this is from Allocation. It is from allocation.com. Humanity's Mot, the death god, finds ways to live. Ironically. Mot, the death god. God doesn't mean the end. I mean, I'm sorry. Death doesn't mean the end. At least in the eyes of the ancient Canaanites, it was simply part of the cycle that played out before them in the arid land. In Canaanite mythology, Mot, the god of death, battled and briefly won against Baal, the god of fertility and life. He was soon after defeated and killed by Anath, Baal's sister, who would resurrect Baal in time to bring life to the land. In spite of Baal's survival, Mot's rebirth would inevitably take place. That's hard to say. Oh, hey, Scott, too good to see you tonight. Would inevitably, oh, I can't say that, take place, and this cycle battle would continue. The life-death battle. Like many gods with the pantheon of Canaanite mythology, Mot was a god that symbolized a vital part of the cycle of seasons. In this case, he represented the death of crops and the dry, infertile seasons that inflicted the present-day Middle Eastern region. In addition, he was a god that existed well before the emergence of Judaism and eventually found himself losing influence in and dying out in the region. Or did he? Or did he? Good to see you, Scott. Much like the cycle battles he was known for, Mott never really went away. The Old Testament, the Bible, doesn't mention him by name, unlike his nemesis Baal. But many scholars believe that his name, translated, has become the personification of death mentioned in the sacred text. There are also indications that Mott may have been the inspiration for the iconic Grim Reaper. Yeah, he shows up sooner or later on everybody's. Anyway, he'll find you sooner. Actually, yeah. Where was that? Anyway, I was reading an article about him having a ferocious appetite and never getting full. Like I guess some people don't know. All right. A fly came in my house. Furthermore, there also appear to be modern interpretations emerging in a fledgling religion and within the current myth-making medium of interactive video games. In this sense, we could say that Mott has cheated death. Yeah. I guess he would be in the video games, isn't he? Here's the earliest known figurine of Mott. This is the one that you'll see the probably the majority of, with the weird hat. I forgot what Grace called it. The pointy hat, the gnome dunce cap, and the his hand up like that. But then he kind of morphed into like the devil looking thing with anyway. Death is born. Mott's origins date back to the Canaanite city of Ugarit, most famously known as Ras Shamra, an ancient port city found in present-day Syria. The city is believed to have existed as far back as 6000 BC and was abandoned around 1185 BC. During that time, the city and its people gave birth to their own mythology. It's not known exactly when Mott and the Ugarit mythology started. However, the emergence of the Ugarit alphabet and later the Phoenician alphabet indicates that the written accounts have existed since 1400 BC. So fast. Notice the hand placement? Yes. Is he taking an oath? The Canaanites, a West Semite tribe. And you notice that was called Semite, like the anti-Semites, Canaanites, Semites. Semite tribe lived in a region that is now occupied by Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, and the Palestine territories. Historically known as the Fertile Crescent for its fertile soil and its predominantly arid region, it is believed that the Phoenicians and the people of Carthage existed alongside the Canaanites, sharing certain aspects of each other's religions. Mott, also known as Mavet, was the center of this blended religion. Many accounts, including some of the first written literature exists, stated that he was one of many children of the supreme god El. Not just one, but he was actually his favorite, remember? In addition, El, a deity that is surprisingly vital afterlife in the Bible, that El, considered Mott to be his favorite son. Yes, El, the god El, it's his favorite son. Mott, the death. Imagine your son who's responsible for killing every single person that's ever been born. Like you're responsible for bringing him in the world. He's responsible for taking him out. That's his favorite. Forget the ones that know how to get the women pregnant and make the flowers grow and all that, or the bees. make honey. No, forget that one. So anyway, the Hebrew biblical word for death is mot or mavet. All right. Yes. Hebrew word is mot. No connection. Oh, I do want to show this too. Like I said, he's known for doing the opposite of the other gods. Like instead of making things grow, he makes things die. So while considered a prodigal son, other accounts of Mot were not positive. He had several titles associated with him, including the following: the god of sterility, god of dryness, god of barren places, god of the desert, god of drought, god of the underworld. And boy, the Middle East has a lot of that drought over there. Anyway. So in addition, as previously mentioned, he was the chief antagonist of Baal, also known as Baal and Baal Hadad. And so his name became synonymous with death. So cycles of life and death. Mot holds several distinctions. For starters, he may have been one of the first deities to be recorded in writing, despite being lost to time until 1958 when the city Ugardis was discovered and excavated. Several fragments of poems and stories have been found. Among them is a collection known as Baal's Tales. It sounds like a cartoon, Baal's Tales. Or the Baal Cycle. It's a collection that antagonism between Baal and Mot plays out. Oh yeah, one wants everything to live, the other one wants everything to die. Every year, Mot and Baal battled each other, and every year Mot prevailed. Some translations state Mot ate Baal like a lamb. Look at some translations say that Mot ate Baal like a lamb. Only to have Baal's sister Aneth, the goddess of war, defeat and kill him. Afterward, Aneth would cup up Mot's body and sprinkle its part on Baal's remains. Wow, does that sound familiar? Wow, does that sound familiar? Afterward, Aneth, what was that, his sister? Baal's sister, would cup up Mot's body, so scoop it all up in a cup, and sprinkle its part on Baal's remains, bringing the god of fertility back to life. Over and over, this battle continued with the same outcome. Oh man, there's that picture where I got the picture from. It's like 789. Yes, 789. And for real, Tuesday did kill Wednesday. The god Tuesday in real life did kill Wednesday. Well, I don't know if real life, but mythology anyway. So 789 and Tuesday killed Wednesday. For sure. So this image supposedly meant to represent Mot and Baal battling each other. Not sure which one is which. It's got bigger ears. But anyway, one's Mot, one's Baal. One's trying to make them live. The other one, well, I don't know, they're both look like they're eating them. Anyway, that's their struggle represents the Canaanites' yearly harvest, especially in the arid environment they resided in. Like most ancient cultures, the Canaanites saw the acts of nature as the will of the gods. Yes, so if you had a drought, it was that god. If you had rain, it was that god. If you had death, it was that god. If you had life, it was that the god. If your cows and sheep had a bunch of babies, it was that god. If you had babies, it was the other god. Anyway. To them, the conflict between Mot and Baal was a metaphor for the changing seasons. Baal came to represent the harvest seasons when food and water were there at their most plentiful. Mot, on the other hand, was the antithesis, for he represented sterility and death. Got that right. Is Mot the devil? Could it be Satan? Mot was not the Canaanite devil. However, he was very close to it. The place he came from wasn't hell either. The underworld was a place for the dead and happened to be where Mot sent Baal after killing him. In fact, Mot's underworld is similar to, and was possibly the basis for, those described in Egyptian and Greek mythology. Which is Pan. She's got the hoofs and the horns and the tail. Anyway, it's possible that Mot in the underworld would become the basis of Satan and hell in the Judeo-Christian tradition. Mot in the underworld is Satan and hell in Christianity. However, the Canaanites didn't see him as evil. Instead, he was venerated, feared, and respected. His power was simply part of the chief Semitic god El's plan. A plan that revolved around the formation of seasons. Yep. Something is born and it has a season and it dies. Like everything, right? Mot as a personification of death. Judaism soon swept the region. The Hebrew tribes ruled and offset the Canaanites and their religion as a prime influence in the area. If one goes by the biblical account, the Canaanites were wiped out by the Israelites. However, recent research involving DNA indicates that 90% of the modern Lebanese population have genes that share characteristics with ancient Canaanites. Isn't that interesting? 90% Canaanites. Contrary to popular belief, the Canaanites and their belief didn't vanish. Instead, they were absorbed into the new predominant culture. This includes their religion, for better or worse. Canaanite gods in the Bible. Baal is mentioned a lot in the Old Testament and the Bible, but not as a true deity. The once powerful and benevolent God and his followers became symbolic adversaries. In numerous accounts, he becomes a false god that people seemingly pray to when they lose faith in the one true God. Even El can be found in its pages, albeit in a very complex way that involved both the biblical God and some of the prophets. El is a Semitic name for God, quotations. The English translation of the Bible refers to Elohim, which also translates to mean God. Whether El and the biblical God known as Yahweh, meaning the Lord, are still up for debate. I think it's more like a melting pot. By disease, their skin is consumed. The firstborn of death consumes their limbs. That's funny. Which I think they're pretty much proven that this, like Job is one of them old Mesopotamian texts, if I remember right. Mot's presence in the Bible. Okay. Many biblical scholars point out that Mot too is present in the Bible. In fact, the story of the prophet Elijah in 1 Kings 18 of the Old Testament shares the following similarities with the cyclical Baal stories. It takes place during a drought. People who have abandoned Yahweh pray to Baal to bring rain. This reminds me of oh my goodness, it reminds me of the Israelites. As soon as they come out of Egypt, Moses goes, he doesn't come back soon enough, so right away they turn to another god, they turn to Baal and start making a golden calf. So anyway, people who have abandoned Yahweh and pray to Baal for the rain because Yahweh didn't bring them rain. Reference to animal sacrifice mentions lambs. Wow. And just think about it. All the animal sacrifice in the Old Testament. However, the differences are striking. Elijah challenges Ahab, the king of the group that prays to Baal. That's a good story. Thus, Elijah seemingly takes the role of Mot. Yahweh brings the rain, proving Baal is a false god and that people need to choose wisely or die a horrible death, as many Old Testaments stories ended. So it's like, I thought he had a hockey stick for a second. It's a sickle. I just thought, he's like I mean, what is it, NHL? Yeah, he's got a sickle. That's a Western version of Mott, the Grim Reaper. Mott's indirect references pop up in other Bible verses in the Bible. Most notably, when death is personified in some way, it is Mott. The evidence of this goes back to the Hebrew language. In this case, Mott, or its alternate spelling Mavet, translates to mean death. There's a statue. A wood sculpture depicting death as the Grim Reaper, made in southern Germany in the late 18th century, so 1700s. The sculpture is in the Museum of Schnoten in Cologne. Was Mott the inspiration for this famous and frightening character? Here's an example from Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 5. This is they're talking about Mott. Moreover, wealth is treacherous. The arrogant do not endure. They open their throats as wide as Sheol. Like death, they never have enough. That's what this thing is. It never has enough. It has to keep eating. So it's like death, they never have enough. They gather all nations for themselves and collect all peoples as their own. And there's another one from Job 18:13. The disease of their skin is consumed. The firstborn of death consumes their limbs. In these passages, Mott, as death, is represented by Yahweh as the one that will turn the wayward Israelites over to if they don't recognize him, Yahweh is the true God. So God is threatening to turn over the Israelites to Mott if they don't recognize him as the true God. There is speculation that the use of Mott/death in the Bible led to the creation of the Grim Reaper or the Angel of Death that emerged in the 14th century Europe. However, the Black Plague did much to popularize the image and character. All right, is Mott really a personification of death? To note, not everyone agrees that personification of death is Mott. One site calls it ridiculous. A reference to a line in Psalm 49:14 also supports this line of thinking. Like sheep they are laid in the grave. Death shall feed on them, and the upright shall have dominion over them in the morning, and their beauty shall consume in the grave from their dwelling. All right, an argument is that there's no need to refer to God barely known to the arrogant mythology, and that death as a word fits rather than a personification, and that the word death was used elsewhere without the direct reference to Mott. So you can make an argument either way. Still, the passage does refer to sheep, and the death shall feed on them, a reference that appears to coincide with Mott feeding on Baal like a lamb. Oh man. All right, and the last part, we gotta go to the last part here. Mott lives again. In belief in Mott and other Canaanite gods may have been a part of an ancient religion. However, hey, Caleb, stop it. You wrecked my leather couch. Caleb! Hey, who is doing that? Stop it. Sorry about that. I dig a bone out of the cushion or something. All right, Mott lives again. The belief in MOT and other Canaanite gods may have been a part of an ancient religion. However, an attempt to, yeah, it wasn't even Caleb. It was one of the other ones. Caleb's under my feet. It was one of the other ones. However, that's where they're born. Yeah, the bones are either under the couch or on the couch. And anyway, one was trying to get one out of the cushion, and I'm wrecking my couch. All right. However, an attempt to resurrect the gods and goddesses has started. Also known as Canaanite paganism, Canaanite neo-paganism, Canaanite resurrectionism, and a revival. All deities of original religion are present in this revival. Well, every culture is going to have, and in fact, we already kind of we saw a lot of similarities we've gone over in the religions. Most religions have a trinity. First off, almost every religion had one. You know, different cultures have like different creation stories. Similarly, they have flood stories. Almost like folklore, you know what I mean? Although I do have to say something about the flood. I just saw something where, yeah, I mean, the flood, I do believe there was a flood. I don't believe it really went over every inch of the earth, because those Sumerian or Mesopotamian, I can't remember. There are certain cultures that they go back, I mean, way past the Bible recording, 6,000 years. I mean, they go back 9,000, 10,000 years. Which is why when Cain got exiled, he had a city to go to and people to hide out from. Because they're not the first two people. They're whatever, Adam and Eve. Anyway. But hold on a second. Hold on a second. Be right back. Okay, couldn't get the microphone back on. But anyway, yeah, I do believe that there was like a flood, but these older cities don't have a break in their record. I mean, these old cities had governments. They had records and everything, and there's just no break where the flood should be. And also, you know, I also was listening to some scholars talking about Egypt too, like if go on, the dog out from under me. Like if there was no, I just accidentally blamed Caleb because it was in his spot. That's where it was happening, in his spot. But Caleb got a bad rap on that one. But same with Egypt. Okay, so if Egypt's got records going way past way earlier than the Exodus, right? Way earlier than the Egyptian, than Israelites coming out of Egypt. And so supposedly all these plagues hit Egypt, and then the Pharaoh and all his army ended up dying in the sea or whatever, the Red Sea. They got no record of that, which made it seem like they brought down Egypt. I mean, yeah, they got no records of that. They got no records of any pharaoh being killed or his army or anything like that during that time. And they got records. Um, anyway, so all right. Anyway, it's just the evidence just isn't there, you know. All right, so to wrap this up, let's see here. Oh, I'll show you this thing actually. So does Mott live on? However, this religion was not founded in its original place. According to the now defunct site Wikibin, the religion, supposedly founded in the 1990s, has newfound life on the internet by means of social networking. Another site, however, mentions that the religion started in the early 2000s. So they're still trying to worship this thing. In addition, Mott has found a new medium to exist on. Mott has become a character within the realm of the popular Japanese media franchise known as Shin Megami Tensei. While being faithful to the character's origin, the series of role-playing games, including multiple player online, depict Mott as an evil entity and have him listed as a Grim Reaper. So yeah, he does. He lives on in video games. There's probably still people back over there. It's an ironic twist. A god known to live and die has been reborn in the 21st century. Now Mott lives and dies in cyberspace and beyond. I think that's him reaching out for the. See, even he got resurrected. That's a modern depiction. So, anyway. I think that's it. I'm going to see if I have missed anything. Oh, I'm going to show you something. No, hold on a second. This thing doesn't want to cooperate. Yep. All right. Let me see if I think I got it all, but let me go through my tabs. I think so. Yeah, I think we got it all. So yes, he is God of Death. Don't we live on a water world? Maybe the flood has not fully receded. Yeah. Yeah, that is weird how my screen went black like that. Okay. Yeah. Shoot. All right. Anyway. Yeah, it's kind of like a delay. It's when I hit a button, it doesn't work, and I hit it again. And anyway. So, here. Let's put that up. Yeah, I mean, I do believe that because every culture has a flood story, but there are some places who don't have a break in their history during that flood time because everybody agrees kind of when it was. What here? When was the flood? Was it 4,000, 3,000 BC? I can't remember. 2,500. When was that? But yeah, the different cultures have the flood. And different reasons why God got mad. All the cultures like probably sat around and had they had thought up reasons why God got mad. The Chinese don't have. Oh, they don't. Maybe they never got flooded. What year did the flood happen? on, on Google, it says, what caused the Great Flood 12,000 years ago? Timeline for the flood. Well, they're not giving me a straight answer here. Here it is. All right, 24 BC is the year of flood. 2472 BC. And so they have records before that and after that in some countries. And they had governments, they had all kinds of stuff. And I hear people say, what's the use of owning your property if you got to pay taxes on it? You know what? You can pay rent, you can pay house, but whatever. There's always been taxes. You can go back thousands and thousands of years. You're going to be paying taxes. There's just no way getting out of paying your house, your land taxes. You know what I mean? Just no way. It's always been that way. No matter when you lived. It's not just now. It's always been. Always. They got some people one way or the other. But yeah. So yeah, you haven't lived in the last few years, a few thousand years without paying some type of taxes, you know what I mean? It just is what it is. What do they say? No escaping death and taxes. You might escape like some income tax and different ones, but you get taxed on something. Or arrested or whatever. But yeah, as far as living where you're gonna live, your property, yeah, death and taxes do things, yeah. I mean, you're not gonna own property without paying taxes. It's just the way it is. Or you're gonna pay rent and help that guy pay his taxes, but somebody's gonna pay taxes on that. It's always been like that. There's just no getting out of it. It is what it is. But yeah, so the Chinese don't have a flood story. That's interesting. Maybe they didn't get flooded. You know what I mean? Because there's no way people can say that. Because and just think about it. If Noah, his wife, and the 6 others were the only ones that survived, how do they know? They would be the only ones that could tell you if the whole world flooded, if they're the only survivors, right? Logically. Okay, according to those 8 people, how do they know how far the flood went? You could be on an ocean and think the whole world is flooded. I could be on Lake Mille Lacs and probably think the whole world's flooded. If the water goes as far as you can see, I mean, people have been floating at sea forever. They probably, it probably feels like the whole world's flooded. Either that or you can find yourself a sugar mama, like a certain YouTube product. Yeah. Yeah. Well, she's got to pay the taxes on it. Yeah. Well, he's still got the death thing looming. That's the one thing he's not going to escape. Nobody escapes that. You might get a free ride financially, but yeah, you get taxed somewhere along the way. But yeah, there's just no avoiding it. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, and then, by the way, that's called coveting. When you try to get a sugar mama to pay your way, that is called coveting. You're trying to take something that somebody else has. You want her money, her car, her house, her food, her income. That's coveting. You gotta get your own. Make your own way. Anyway, there's a different YouTube prophet, a second one, that last night said that if a woman doesn't get married, God's gonna probably put you in hell because you were supposed to make some man happy. God gave you everything you need to make a man happy. That's what he said. And he's going to say, what's wrong with you? Of course, his girlfriend just broke up with him. So I think that was aimed at her. Anyway, all right, I will wrap this up and say good night and ciao and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so tomorrow's Friday night. I hope you guys have a good rest of the evening. Have a great Friday. I hope to see you tomorrow night. One of these nights we got to have a bonfire. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, yeah, he is another kind of beast. The beast out of the sea. One's a beast out of one's a beast out of the land, and the other one's a beast out of the sea. There you go. I think they got it covered. All right. Well, thanks for coming in, guys. For listening on the replay, thanks for listening on the replay. Good to see you tonight, Grace, and anybody else that came in. Hold on a second. Let me try to scroll through this if it will let me. Don't let me. Let me go over here and see if this will let me scroll. Good night to Scott Tube. I like that name. Good night to Grace. Good night to Scott Tube. And anybody else that came in, thanks for coming in and oops. I don't know what just happened. Anyway, malfunction. So good night, y'all. And love, prayers, blessings from Grace and from me too.